The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We'll bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews. I'm Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented,
Wayne Baker.
It feels like a while since we have done this, and obviously sorry to you listening to this. Also, thank you for your patience. You know, we talk to people in the service industry, and it's a tough game. Tough game before.
Feels like a while because it's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Well, and no, not sorry. Like, we also it's the summer and we all have lives as well. And we need to put ourselves and our families and our friends sometimes ahead of this.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Steph is not.
We took a break and we're back.
We did, and we're back, and we're coming in hot with this episode. It's been delayed a couple of times for big reasons, and nobody's at fault. We hope everybody is okay, humans and dogs alike. We have joining us from the wonderful Love City Brewing.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Walter, I'm co-founder of Love City Brewing.
Yes, thank you for returning to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, of course.
I was thinking about it. I was like, it's been 3 years since we last spoke on the podcast. That's crazy to me.
Although, it has not been 3 years since I've had Love City beer.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, no, God, no.
It's probably been like 3 minutes, right? You just opened one.
Just opened one, yeah. This is my last one. I meant to stop by yesterday and grab some on my way home, but I just didn't have time. So I have this one, and then my girlfriend lives like 3 blocks from the brewery, so I'm there fairly often, and I can stop in pretty easy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Love City comes up on our podcast quite frequently.
All the time.
Oh, that makes me happy. I hope in good ways.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Only the best. I mean, it's no secret we're all fans of the beer. I mean, I will tell people left and right, Love City Lager is my favorite beer. And you guys,
that's high praise.
It's
a lot
amazing.
of beers.
I drink too many beers. But I mean, also everyone at the brewery is just like your heads are in the right spot. You're always fighting the good fight, and you always want to make sure that people are treated well, employees and guests alike. You want to make sure that you're driving the change that you want to see, and that is very important. And that's something we've been focusing on for like a year and a half, 2 years, however long it's been that the world has been on fire. We've been trying to talk about the things we want to see happen, and I really genuinely truly feel like Love City embodies all of it. And my hat's off to you and everybody there.
Thank you. That does mean a lot, because that is a huge part of who we are and what we want to do. I think if you have a platform, if you have any sort of like privilege and influence in the world, then use it to drive the change that you want to see. So, I hope we're doing that in a lot of good ways.
Yeah. And, the beer is also fantastic.
Right. And beer.
And of course, beer. And good beer. Great beer.
Good beer.
So it has been a little while, and I want to dive into some of those things. We got to get some housekeeping out of the way first. To you listening to this, you can follow along on all of the socials. We are at Beer Busters on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There's Facebook, where we are Beer Busters Podcast. There's beerbusterspodcast.com. Don't forget to add /shop, and you can find yourself some cool merch that Wayne has designed. There's YouTube, where we are Beer Busters Podcast. And then, of course, there's patreon.com/beerbusters, where you get access to Last Call and the behind-the-scenes feed and the archive of punishment videos and such, all for as little as $1 a month.
And the satisfaction of keeping the lights on.
Exactly.
Beer Busters World Headquarters.
So Steph's house.
Yeah, that's where the tax bill comes.
That is where the tax bill comes. That is true.
Then you're definitely headquarters.
Yes.
Exactly. Well,
I know we want to get into a whole range of topics tonight, but I feel like we should start off the top by maybe updating our listeners. As you mentioned, it's been 3 years since we've talked to you guys on the show, and you guys have grown as a brewery, so perhaps talk about what's new at Love City and give us an update on what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think about what position we were in 3 years ago, and like how things have changed. And I swear, pandemic times has completely warped my sense of time. So I'm like, that was last year. No, that was 2.5 years ago. But what's new? So we definitely have grown. COVID kind of forced us into more distribution than we had planned on initially. So we had to invest a bit more heavily into that than we expected to. So now we have, I think since I talked to you last, we gained 2 additional brewers, 2 delivery people, delivery box truck, canning line, and 2 60-barrel fermenters. So we're definitely growing. We're still trying to be very conscious about it, and we went kind of wide during COVID times. We went out into the counties a little farther than we initially had planned to, and we're pulling back a little bit and trying to stay tight to Philly, just because it makes the most sense for us at this point in time. But grateful to have had that experience. I mean, regardless, we're still here. We're still making beer. People still want it. So these are all very good problems to have in my book.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the delivery, and I want to ask about that kind of selfishly, but also just because I'm curious. Do you still deliver? Because I know early on in the pandemic, Wayne and I had lived together at that point. We would order Love City all the time because it was so easy.
Love City and Workhorse.
And yeah, exactly. And Kevin would show up and deliver it to us. So like one time, from the street to my porch, we were just catching up a little bit. But do you guys still deliver? Is that something I can order?
Deliveries anymore. We're grateful that we could do it at that time, but we were literally driving around the city in our personal cars, as you saw Kevin do, and I was just like, we don't have time to do this long term. It's just not sustainable. But with the distribution delivery that we do get into a lot of like neighborhood bottle shops and grocery stores. We're in a ton of Acme's, Giants, Whole Foods. So like if you've got a local corner spot, like we might actually be there. So worth a try.
Absolutely. I've picked up a few Love City mixed packs at Fresh Grocer over in West.
Awesome.
My fiance used to live over there, and it's always cool to see a local brewery. Like you see them in the bottle shops and the beer bars and stuff, but when you see them in a grocery store, you're like, oh, that's legit.
It's a long game. You'll have to ask our sales director Mo about that sometime, because I think from start to actually getting our beer there, I think Whole Foods took her almost 3 years.
To
get it there.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that shelf space is pretty cutthroat to get
long
your beer on.
Game. Yeah.
You guys also opened an outdoor space as well recently.
Yeah. So during pandemic times, we had a big old tent in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And that was our temporary solution. But we always knew that was going to be temporary. But we're like, how do we still keep some outdoor space going? Because people obviously love it. They want to be outside. And there's a little, it was used initially by PHS, Philadelphia Horticultural Society, I want to say 6 years ago, as one of their pop-up beer gardens. It's this little corner, triangle property right underneath the elevated rail line at the corner of 10th Street and Hamilton Street. And we found out that the previous tenant wasn't renewing their lease on it. So we were like, hey, we would love to rent this and turn it into a really cute beer garden. And thankfully the landlord agreed. And so we did it up, painted, planted so many plants. You have no idea. And no, it turned out really, really well. So we renamed it Love City Gardens, and it's right on the corner of 10th. The address is 500 North 10th Street. So it's literally 150 feet from our taproom entrance.
Yeah, it's a really cool spot. My girlfriend and I were there a week or two after it opened. It might have even been the first weekend. And it's a really cool spot, especially now that it's summer, and of course when fall rolls around, the nights will not be super duper hot. It's really cool to just sit outside there and drink a couple of beers.
Yeah, it's cute. We got all the lights up. Now that it's full on summertime, the plants are really blooming and taking over, so it feels very lush and green and comfortable in there.
Are you guys serving beer on tap there or just cans?
We do both. We have a couple kegerators over there, and then we have what we don't have on draft, we have available in cans for folks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think since the last time we had you on the show, you have been elected to the board of our state's Brewers Guild, the Brewers of Pennsylvania.
I was.
First of all, formal congratulations to you on that. So what is it like being a part of that group?
I still feel very, very new, and I'm learning all the things. I was just officially elected in March, so I'm brand new, board member with people that have been on it for the full 10 years of the entire organization's lifespan. So right now I'm definitely still in like listening and learning phase. I am still chair of the Equity and Inclusion Committee as well. So anything that I really have to say kind of revolves around that. But just like learning about the amount of like legislative action that this group does on a regular basis is pretty crazy. Like I knew of it, but getting in there and actually like hearing about the senators that people are talking to and this bill that came up and then immediately got killed, thankfully, so we don't end up like freaking poor New Jersey right now. I keep hearing all this terrible stuff that just happened to the Jersey brewers, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness we have a good group over here. But it's great. I mean, I'm sitting on a board with like Tom Kehoe and Chris Trogner and all these, big beer folks that have been around forever. And it's been really amazing so far.
Very cool. There was a time years ago, we used to talk on this podcast a lot about the evolution of like liquor laws in Pennsylvania. Because, I remember, 10, 20 years ago, it was crazy. You couldn't drink a beer on a Sunday or, if the sun it rose after 10 a.m. or something weird like that. But you don't really think about how instrumental the Brewers of PA really are in lobbying for all the changes we've seen. I probably have them to thank for most, if not all of them.
Totally. Drinking beer in a tap room. Like you used to not be able to drink beer in a tap room, which is insane to me. Yeah. You could have a sample, but like you can't actually physically sell your own product. Like that didn't make any sense. And thankfully, they were able to get those laws changed, which is our model and how we survive and keep in business. So
I think Pennsylvania is seeing the value that breweries can bring to a local economy, where for some reason New Jersey does not seem to see that value yet. But I don't know. Maybe we can send them some good vibes over the river. I thought we had come further than this, and then I was reading up on it this week, and the way how they come up with these random numbers, like you can only have 52 events a year, or like
I don't understand it. I know that it has a lot to do with the Restaurant Guild. I don't know the exact intricacies and ins and outs of that, but I keep hearing that it has a lot to do with the Restaurant Guild over there. And
so that's probably why they don't have food, and like they never have food trucks either. It's just kind of like we know we're good friends with Mark from Cape May, and whenever you go there, it's like, hey, the taco shop next door is pretty good, and you can bring it in.
Yeah. But it can't be on our property. Like if it had a truck, it couldn't park here, and it's just it's ridiculous. Yeah, so thank you, PA, and thank you to Brewers of Pennsylvania for
we're not the worst
making
in the
our
country.
lives a little easier.
So you mentioned the Equity and Inclusion board that you are the chairwoman of, correct? And one of the things, as I was sort of messing around on the website and seeing the different things that the Guild had to offer, you guys offer a monthly video series, which I found myself in a deep hole of binging those videos a couple weeks ago. But I came across the interview that you actually did with Shauna Potter, who is a pretty badass musician, but also an advocate for safer spaces. And I ended up ordering her book, Making Spaces Safer, which next time I actually see these two in person, I would like to pass it on because I feel very strongly that Wayne and Dan should read it as well. And I actually just shipped a copy to another beer friend of ours.
That's so great.
So I mean, I have like 5 million questions about this, but maybe talk about who Shauna is and how you guys got connected with her, and maybe a little bit about this book.
Yeah, so Shauna's a total badass. She's like this sort of like petite person, but she's just like total badass, like badass musician, like repairs amps, like does, I think I might have gotten that wrong, but she's amazing. And she wrote this book. It's based off of her experience in the music scene. So like a lot of like DIY venues, stuff that was just like on the fringes, and unfortunately, had some negative experiences in that scene and wanted to make it better for everybody. So wrote this like totally accessible, like really practical little book about things that literally anyone can do to make spaces safer. As breweries, I feel like a lot of the time we don't have an HR department. We don't have the money for this. And I totally get that. And I totally sympathize with a lot of that, but there are things that you can do And coming from like this DIY venue sort of world, Shauna just makes it so easy and so simple to be like, okay, yeah, you don't have money, but here's some of the things you can do and try this. So she was such a great person to talk to for that interview.
And I love how she looks at it from many different perspectives. It's not just like the business owner or the manager of the venue, like even just as an audience member or someone who is sitting at a bar having a beer. She gives such realistic advice of what to do if you are in a situation where perhaps you just witnessed something or you're feeling uncomfortable yourself. And, you know, I'm often one of those people that in the moment, like I tense up and I like don't say anything, whether it's something I'm witnessing or something that might be happening to me. And then after the fact, you reflect and you're like, oh, I should have said this. I should have done this. But it sort of gives you a plan ahead of time of suggestions. And she even, you know, says straight out in the book, like, if you're not comfortable doing this, at least do this. If nothing else, make sure you do this. And it just makes it feel like, yeah, I could do this. I feel like if I was in this situation, this is real life advice that I can take. And it's not like other books that you might read and you're like, oh yeah, in a perfect world, maybe this could actually happen, or it is really practical. And I love how she also has the pamphlet, I guess like 48-page pamphlet or something, and it's even more concise. And I would love to see that at venues and places. And I know that your staff was trained.
Yeah, so we did, so we haven't done Shauna specific training, but we have done the Safe Bar training, which is really just all about bystander intervention. Like all we're talking about with Shauna's stuff and with Safe Bars and with other forms of training is bystander intervention. So when you do witness something, like you have kind of a plan in the back of your mind, like, oh, okay, this is what I can do in this situation. And it does take practice, you know, like being able to get those words out in the moment. Like you do have to like kind of practice it a couple of times and work up to it. So that's why yes, reading the book, absolutely. I highly, highly, highly recommend, if people can afford it, to get a sort of in-person bystander intervention training, because there's nothing like the experience of it, like having to physically stand in front of somebody and say like, hey, what's going on over here? And it's going to sound so awkward and so weird, but like eventually it'll feel more natural and you'll get used to it.
Now, we've been doing the podcast virtually pretty much since March of 2020. I think we've done 2 in-person recordings since then.
Yeah, 2 or 3, yeah.
So in a way, we've been blessed in being in our own safe spaces and not having to deal with things. But, you know, hopefully we're getting to the end of this pandemic and hopefully it'll be safer to start doing things in person again. And I was sort of reluctant when I first started the book. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to this advice, but will this really apply to us as a podcast? And it is amazing how so much of this can be applied to any situation. And we recently put out our first version of our code of conduct, which is something
I saw that. Thank you.
But one of the things that I especially struggled with is we have in there, like, tell us and we want to do something about it. And I always worried, like, I want to put these words in this code of conduct, but I don't want them to be empty words. Like, I want to make sure that if we are part of an event that's happening or we are at a fest and we're recording, I want to keep our promise that we're going to do something. And now I feel like just reading this book, I have like the starting point for that, where I feel like, okay, at least I know what I could do. And there is something that I can do. Because I like I said, I don't want those to be empty words. I want people to know that we're putting that out there because we mean the words that are on there.
Yeah. And you've opened the door, you know, like you put it out there in the world that like, this is what we want to do and this is who we are and this is what we value. And, you know, people are seeing that and they're gonna at least know that that's where you're coming from and hopefully feel more comfortable if something does happen, you know, God forbid, but like then to say like, hey guys, this thing happened and it wasn't cool. So yeah.
Now, early on when we were first starting this process, you were very gracious in sharing with me some resources, both from the Brewers of PA, but also Love City, as you guys went through this process of creating a code of conduct. So I'm curious, what was that process like? And perhaps now maybe what advice would you give to other, I don't even want to say brewery owners, but just other people out there that might think a code of conduct is appropriate for whatever their realm is?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good resources out there, and I think the best code of conducts speak to the environment that you work in, right? And the environment that you, whatever it is, whether it's a job or a podcast or an event or whatever, like you have to speak to what's going to be happening at that event. Like if I was writing a code of conduct for like, you know, for like a music venue, for example, I would address different things rather than like, you know, a brewery or a podcast. But I think the essentials just have to be there in terms of like respect for all people, the consequences that are going to happen if you're not respecting all people, and then you gotta follow up on it. You gotta do what you say you're going to do. I feel like I started at a slight advantage because I do come from the mental health world, and I do come from a like victim advocacy perspective. That was my first job ever. I'm very much about, you know, advocating for people that have survived something. I worked with traumatized adolescents and young adults. So I kind of had the language and had the sense of like how to help people feel safe, you know, and what you can do in those moments. And then obviously the converse of what makes people feel really unsafe. So putting that language in there was just like, okay, yeah, obviously this is what we're going to do because this is what's up. So it was easier, I guess, for me, although not an easy process entirely. I think the harder thing is living it. Like you said earlier, you know, it's words on a paper and that's great. That's a great starting point. But then you got to put those words into action and actually, you know, do what you say you're going to do. So if somebody does violate your code of conduct, you should have some consequences outlined and those people should, you know, see some of those consequences.
And just having those things visible, I think for me, it makes me feel safer because I feel like these people care about this and are making an effort to make this a safe space for me. Dana and I attended the Queer Beer Fest in DC at the beginning of June. And I was a little apprehensive, I'm going to be honest, because first of all, I haven't attended a beer fest in a long time. Yeah. Most of the harassment that's happened to me personally in the beer world has taken place at beer fests. I know that Untapped was one of the people hosting the event, and there have been some negative things coming out about them. So I had all of these things going through my head. But when we got there, they had their code of conduct, you know, posted. Safe Bars was there. They had a table and there were people sharing literature and educating people on safe bars. And so already just those things sort of put me at ease. And I have to tell you, at the end of the night, it was by far the best beer fest I've ever been to in my life. And I didn't go there as a podcaster or someone in the beer world. I went there because I wanted to go to that fest, and I would 100% go to the fest again. Just the people that attended the event, the people that ran the event, the people that were pouring at the event. It literally felt like I was just hanging out with like a couple hundred of my closest friends. It was just such a great vibe.
So rad.
But just, you know, seeing those things at the start of the night, it does help you feel a little safer. But you know, I'm always going to have my guard up. I'm always going to be aware of who's around me and what's going on. It's just, I don't know, being a woman, maybe. I mean, I feel like we always have to be that
person
way.
Who's marginalized in any way, I think, you know, it's just how you kind of figure out how to live. But
at
yeah,
least
I hear what you're saying.
It's a sign to consumers that these people care.
Yeah.
Could something still happen?
Put up
Absolutely,
with it.
of course. But
yeah. Well, I think it's really important, and you touched on it, is just having that validation that this is a safe space. If something happens, I can go to an employee and they will listen to me and they will take action. And having that posted gives you that reassurance. And it also it creates a vibe where like everybody there has also seen it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean they agree with it, but by being there and seeing it and continuing to be there, they've kind of made that, they've kind of said, okay, I'm going to follow these rules because I've seen them and I see what happens if I don't. So, I mean, it's important to back up the words, but just having them up, like you said, Steph, I think just makes people like, oh, there are people here that will look out for me if something happens.
It puts people on notice, like on both sides of the spectrum, right? So it like puts people on notice if you're worried about your safety and it puts people on notice to be like, hey, we're not going to put up with any BS here today. So don't try it, you know? Yeah. And other like customers, other guests, you know, like, oh, okay, this is what we're about. This is what we're doing today. And okay, if I see something, like I know that's not cool, so let me do something about it, hopefully.
So I did remember the last time we were supposed to record at Love City was for the Bold Women and Beer Fest back in 2020. And that was on our calendar. And obviously because COVID hit that year, it was canceled. And, our whole, I'm going to use the word I hate, our whole podcast pivoted at that point, and things changed for us as well. But I'm curious, is that something that's going to come back?
We've talked about it. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like getting through pandemic times was just such my first priority. Like, I got to keep Love City alive. I got to pay our people. I got to make sure everybody's okay. And now that like I'm feeling like, okay, we're kind of holding steady. We're in a good place right now. Like, I'm just now starting to think that might be a possibility again, to like plan something on that level. We actually were at an event up at Broken Goblet recently, and like half of the original planning committee was there, and we were just like, so are we gonna do this? We're like, I don't know. Do you think we should do this? So I will say that it's definitely a conversation.
You guys raised like $15,000 in 2019 for the Philly chapter of the Pink Boots Society.
Yeah,
we were pretty impressive.
So proud of that.
I acknowledge there's a lot of hard work behind.
And
something like that happen.
The only reason we could do that is because of all the sponsorships that we got, and that is like a skill set that I don't have it. Like, I will fully admit that like me and development and donations, like that is not my comfort zone. So props to the other half of my planning committee that took that on, because that was a lot of work, but that's where you get the payoff, because you don't have to pay for like all the stuff. You can save your money and then donate it to the nonprofit. So definitely a lot, but we're considering it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that come back. I was very much looking forward to doing that event. I was, obviously looking forward to a lot of things that COVID derailed, but
I know.
But that was one of the early things that was on the docket that we were like, I guess this isn't.
That was a bummer. It was Little Big Beer Fest and that fest were two we were supposed to record at that spring-ish time, and that was a bummer, but it's all right. We'll get through. So I do want to mention some of the really awesome things that Love City has been doing recently. And it's probably why we mention you guys so often. I mean, Dan, we love the beer so much, especially Love City Lager. I think it's definitely in the top three, at least for all three of us. But we also love what you guys stand for, and you're very clear on what you stand for. And one of the things, which I didn't think this would be the first thing I bring up, but just with all the recent gun violence, which I saw a statistic today that since the beginning of 2022, there's been 309 mass shootings. And another Philadelphia officer was shot yesterday on 4th of July. It's just insane.
Them,
But I love following you guys on Instagram. You, I guess it was about a month or so ago, posted anti-gun violence organizations and links to the City of Philadelphia Trauma Toolkit. I really appreciate that those things are available on your social media. Another thing with Pride Month, you guys did a whole bunch of really cool things for Pride Month, and not just for Pride Month. You acknowledge the community, just like being one of the first places that had like all gender bathrooms and the full privacy stalls and the code of conduct and things like that. But I wanted to bring up, back in April, you guys did a trans art mart.
Yeah.
So can you
that
talk
was so
about
much
that?
fun. Yeah, I mean, we have that parking lot next to our building where our beer circus tent formerly was, and it's now used again as parking for office tenants in the neighborhood. So Monday through Friday, it's just a parking lot with cars in it, but then Friday night through Sunday night, it's really just a big old empty space. So thankfully the landlord kind of agreed to let us do stuff in there on the weekends. So we got groups like approaching us like from all over the place, just knowing that we've done things like that in the past, and then being like, so, hey, can we do something, in that parking lot? And whenever it's something like, part of our mission at Love City is to show that beer is for everyone. So whenever somebody approaches us to say like, hey, we are from, this community and we want to do something in your parking lot, if it's a community that's not traditionally been welcomed into craft beer, I'm like, immediate yes. Like, what are we doing? Let's do it. So the Trans Art Mart folks approached us and were like, we want to do this. I think it was their first actual market that they did. And it was such a hit. Like, they were super organized. They had all of their trans-focused vendors there, and people loved it. People came out and did their shopping and got a beer. You know, we always set up our little mobile bar in the parking lot, and it was fantastic.
Another organization that I discovered through you guys was WAR, WOAR, that I guess the Brave Noise beer that you guys brewed together went to that organization. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that organization?
Yeah, so WAR stands for Women Organized Against Rape. They're in the process of changing their name to Philadelphia Center Against Sexual Violence, just as a more like inclusive and encompassing name, which is really cool. But they are like the sort of crisis intervention organization for any type of sexual violence within the city of Philadelphia. And they exist everywhere. So my first job out of college was actually at the Delaware County equivalent to Philly WAR. So I worked for Delaware County Women Against Rape. So everything from meeting somebody at the hospital who's literally just been assaulted to doing, counseling and ongoing supportive counseling with people that are dealing with trauma, to going to court with folks and like guiding them through the court process. They do it all. It's just like everything from immediate crisis management to long-term supportive counseling to advocating within the legal and medical system. And they do the safe bar training. So I think all the bars in Philadelphia should call up WAR and get safe bar trained, because again, it's that great bystander intervention training that's just going to give you the practice of how to intervene when you see something that is not right.
And I think it just makes us a better community, just being aware of these things and having the tools of what to do. It just makes us better people.
Yeah. I want to believe that everyone has the best of intentions, right? Like, you think like if you came across a situation, you would think, oh, I want to help that person. But sometimes you just don't know where to start and what to do. And so stuff like this like gives you the tools to actually be able to do something in that immediate moment.
Yeah, there's been a lot of negative stuff in the news. And I found, I know it's in the notes, and we'll probably touch on abortion rights and, everything that goes along with that. But I think it's helpful to point out organizations like you're mentioning, and Safe Bar Training and WAR and all that, and say, because I find myself reading the news, getting angry and being like, I want to do something. What can I do? Mm-hmm. And I've made it a point the past couple of days to like find lists of links to organizations like that and just share them on Facebook or Twitter. Just be like, here's all the abortion funds in every state. Click this link and you'll find them. And it feels like not much, but like just knowing that these organizations are out there, knowing that these resources exist, and that there's a way to say like, there is something you can do. There are places you can go, you can donate, you can volunteer, you can just share that this exists, so that people are aware of it.
Yeah, you never know who that's helping. You never know who you're reaching on social media. And if somebody is going to see that and be like, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed. Like, I needed this organization and here it is. And, you're advertising for them for free, which is definitely valuable. It's hugely valuable.
No, it's so true. Just interacting with a page or with posts. Social media is so huge right now, and there's such a big part of our population that's the number one place they become informed and they learn about what's going on in the world is through social media. So even something as simple as following and liking or sharing something just to get a bigger reach out there, I think is powerful. You might not be the kind of person that is comfortable going to a protest, or you might not have the resources to make a donation to a place, but we all scroll on our phones at some point during the day. So Dan's always telling people to rate and review podcasts. So go ahead and interact with these great organizations as well while you're at it. Yeah,
and it works. I've definitely found resources on social media for things that I didn't know exist that turned out to be super helpful, so it's just, there's good people out there doing good things. And I think we need to remember that and remind people of that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's huge, because you said, I read the news every day and I get angry. So trying to force ourselves to go to outlets where we're looking at who's making a difference and what are the positive things that are happening and what we can do to be part of that positive change, I think is important, if nothing else, just to give us hope and put us in a more positive mind space about all of this.
For sure. Because it's
rough.
hard not to get it's really hard not to get hopeless right now. I definitely feel myself going there a lot, just like, what now? Like, what now do we have to deal with? But I mean, that's the whole point, right? Is that if they make us completely hopeless and completely checked out and completely like, in our own bubble and ignoring the world, like that's not helpful to anybody. We still have to stay engaged. We still have to stay connected to each other. We still have to stay positive as much as we can and doing like physically just anything that we can. So that's important for sure.
Definitely.
And I've sort of struggled with, specifically related to beer, is still finding the joy in beer right now, while also trying to be very mindful of what's going on. Like, I take it very serious that people pay attention to who we talk to and what we drink and what we like. We were told that we are influencers, and the first time somebody called me a beer influencer, I was like, no, like, it took me a while to accept that we've been doing this for almost 10 years. So people do pay attention. And, when I left the house, it used to be like, all right, which breweries am I going to hit today? And like, it's not that way anymore. Like I'm constantly researching and digging and, is this a brewery I should be going to? Is this a safe space? Is this a brewery that they're respectable people, or is there shit plastered about them somewhere that I'm not aware of? Should I be attending that? Like, going out to have a beer has become a very stressful thing for me. And I've had conversations with several close people, especially in the beer world, about this. And, a friend said the other day, like, someone gifted him beer from a certain local brewery. And he was like, I should have been excited that somebody surprised me and sent me beer. But my first instinct was, is it okay for me to drink this beer? And it's like, where's the line? Like, I'm
laughing because I'm in the same place. Like, I totally get where you're coming from.
We want to make sure we're supporting the right people. And like, but at what point are we like, I just want to go and have a good beer, like,
well, the only reason that either of us are worried about this is because we're trying to be good people and we're trying to do good in the world, right? Yeah. Like, if you didn't care, you wouldn't care. You would just go to the brewery that you wanted to and screw whatever they believe in. Who really cares? But like, the fact that you're even thinking about that, I think, is just like proof that your heart is in the right place and you are trying to do the right thing. I think I'll take my own advice, okay, because I'm really bad at this caveat right now, is that you have to just accept the imperfections inherent in that. You're never gonna do it all right all the time. Yeah. And sometimes it is just, I just like this beer. Like, if somebody gifted me a beer, like, well, they didn't get my money, they got somebody else's money, but like, what am I gonna do? Me pouring it down the drain is not going to do anything, and if you choose to do that and that's what you want to do and you don't feel comfortable drinking it, fine. But I think it's also okay to just be like, well, okay, like, here we are.
Yeah. Steph, you had always mentioned, especially over the past couple of years, about voting with your dollars and supporting the businesses that you want to support, and I love that, and I love that you boiled it down so perfectly to that. And you mentioned the places you want to go, and you do all the research trying to figure out like what businesses should you support and what shouldn't you, and I feel like a lot of that boils down to businesses being vocal about what they believe in, which is, again, something I love about Love City. It's very obvious, and you really don't try to hide the things that you believe in, and you definitely stand for
better or worse.
Well, and so far everything I've seen I've agreed wholeheartedly. You don't stand for one thing; you stand for all the right things. At least, in my humble opinion, and it's just it just makes sense. And we mentioned abortion earlier, and of course, this was going to be the elephant in the room that was going to be talked about eventually. When the ruling came down, I forget if it was the same day or day after. On the Love City Instagram was a very thoughtful and lamenting post, and Wayne, like you said, you're trying to do the links and the funds and everything. You provided resources for that. And I think I saw in some of the notes that you have previously brewed beer where you donated the proceeds to an abortion fund, right?
Yeah, so part of that post was, I think I posted a picture from our collaboration brew. So back in December, when this whole argument at the Supreme Court started in, Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health, Tess, actually, from Triple Bottom Brewing, came to me and Laura Lacey of Attic and Carly Chelder of Tannery Run and said, like, hey, do you want to do something about this? And we were totally on board. So they came up with the recipe for our choice, which was an IPA that we all came together in December and brewed. And we actually got staff from the Abortion Liberation Fund of Pennsylvania to be there as well, because they were the nonprofit that we donated the proceeds of that beer to. So that was way back in December. And now it's like, and now it's happened. Like, yeah. We knew it was coming. Like, we all knew it was coming, but actually experiencing the reality of it has just been like mind-boggling and infuriating. And
yeah, there was always that little glimmer of hope that no, the leak garnished. There was enough draft. The draft that was leaked. Had enough of a backlash that they're thinking, no, let's not do. No, they fucking doubled down on it.
Because of course, all in.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever know the truth as to like the story behind that leak. But I feel like if this was going to happen, that's probably good because it kept it in the headlines for very, very long. Like there was the leak that everybody talked about, and then it actually happened. Whereas it would have it still would have been a huge earth-shattering thing. And if it had come out of nowhere, the reaction probably would have been.
The story I like to tell myself about the leak, like I'm totally making this up. This has no basis in reality whatsoever. But the story that I have in my head somehow is that there's some. I picture a woman, of course, like there was some woman in some capacity at the Supreme Court that was like, "This is happening," and like I need to warn people. Like somehow that's the story that I've told myself is like, at least people got to prepare. Mm-hmm. Like at least you had a couple of months heads up where it was like, shit's going to happen. Like if you're in a spot where you are pregnant, might be pregnant, whatever, like you need to start planning for what that's going to look like now. Yeah. Because we all knew it happened, day one with some of these trigger laws. It was just like, you are out of luck as of today.
Yeah.
So too bad for you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I mean, I feel like, the news cycle and the general attention span is so short and fickle these days that like even something as big as that might have been, outshouted by something else that happened a week later or whatever, or would have like been out of people's mind by the time they go to vote. But the fact that it was leaked and then there was a conversation about that, there was preparation, like you said, and then it happened, just has kept it in the headlines, in people's minds. I'm just hoping that the leak helps people remember when they go to vote the next time they do, all these things that are going on, because people tend to forget these things way too quickly.
Oh, me too. I hear you, and I hope that people remember it, because we're all in trouble if not. Yeah. I mean, we're all in trouble already, but we're in worse trouble if they don't remember it in November.
Yeah. So do you think that the group will brew that beer again with proceeds going to a fund of some kind?
So Tess actually brewed it at Triple Bottom again.
Okay.
And we just bought a couple of kegs, so we're serving it in the tap room right now. And we've had a conversation about like, oh, do you want to do this again? Like when would it work out? So it's definitely a conversation that's happening for sure. But in the meantime, you can still get some at the tap room if you want.
I have so much to say, but
I know. I do too.
Well, Wayne, I think you brought up a good point that things don't stay in people's mind. Like people get worked up about something and then it disappears. Mm-hmm. And I worry about that with all of these issues that we've brought up so far. It's like how long it's almost like, well, if I wait long enough, the people are just naturally forgiven. Maybe they didn't apologize or make a change for it, but we forget about it. And
there's also there's every day there is something new to be this outraged about, and that's another problem. It has to do with attention spans, but it is also we have a lot that's being thrown at us at the moment, and to me that clouds some of it, because in reality, the abortion ruling was 2 weeks ago, not even, but it kind of feels like an eternity at this point, because there's been some other bullshit every day. And there's only so much anger I have. And I have a lot of more anger than the average person. But there's only so much anger that I really have. And I worry that is part of the reason. And other people are going to be tired of being angry at everything that they should be angry about. But there's just so much.
Yeah, well, you can get tired of being angry, but you can't get tired of wanting things to change.
That's absolutely true.
I get sick of being angry, but I still would like these things to change. Even if I'm like tired of being angry, but
that's a real thing. I mean, emotional exhaustion is absolutely real, and being being that outraged for that long is eventually just going to burn you out, you know? So like stuff you were saying about like finding the joy in things, like that's a huge piece of this, not to quote unquote like forget about it, but to give yourself the things you need to sustain yourself, to then sustain the changes, to the work you're doing to make the changes that you want to see. You know, that's what it's about. It's not just like, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever. It's like, no, like do something that makes you happy. Give yourself like positive experiences. Let go of that anger and that frustration for a while, and, you know, feel better so you can keep doing it.
Well, and here our platform is mostly beer drinkers, people in the beer industry. So, you know, and as one of them mentioned earlier in the show, Wayne, it might have been you, Dan, it might have been you. You know, we have made it part of our mission to do things that are going to improve this world, improve this beer world that we've been a part of. And, you know, we've been, you know, the code of conduct was part of that. Being very thoughtful about the guests that we have on the show is part of that. But also, I struggle with what other steps do we take just in our daily lives? Like Dan mentioned, I am a wholehearted believer in vote with your dollar. Like, yes, of course, I will vote at every election. I will be there. But every single day where I choose to eat, what I choose to drink, what I choose to do, like I vote with the money that I'm spending. So I think about, I had this conversation with a few people, you know, like going out somewhere. Like if a group of friends are going to a brewery that perhaps my values don't align with them, do I just say, no, thanks, you guys have fun? Do I try to divert and say, hey, let's go here instead? Or do I like get on my soapbox that at times I kind of feel like I want to, but I hold myself back and say, this is why you shouldn't be going there and drinking there beer. Like it's,
I know.
And I don't always know what the right answer is. So, and Melissa, you have given us such good advice over the years. So perhaps for those of us that are out there drinking and we do feel passionate about positive change, what would your advice be just in everyday social settings with trying to make positive change?
I mean, it's like, there's never one right answer for all the time, right? Like, I think that answer to your question would just vary based on the situation, right? Like, if it were my close friends, hell yeah, I'd be like, y'all, I'm not going there. And here's why. I'm going to tell you all about it, you know, blah, blah, blah. If it were like work folks or casual acquaintances, I might like make another suggestion, you know, and be like, actually, like maybe this one over here, you know, and it's just, it just depends, you know, and am I going to tell people like, oh, well, if they're going, you absolutely shouldn't go. And like, you shouldn't be part of that social situation. Like, no. Like, if those are your friends and you want to spend time with them and that's something you value, then absolutely do it. You know, acknowledge that, again, we're not going to be perfect. We're not going to like be 100% aligned with our values at all times. Like, do I order things from Amazon? Yes. Do I align with Jeff Bezos' values? No. Like, of course not.
Same boat.
That's, you know, it's life. It's just, it depends. I think if you're using your dollars in the way that you want to use them and it aligns with the things that are important to you, I think you're baseline on the right track. And if you want to tell the world about your thoughts about things, then feel free. And if you don't, I think that's also okay.
Yeah. And I think an interesting point, like you said, if you're with like your best friends, obviously you're gonna be like, well, this is why I feel this way. This is why I'm not going to spend money at this place. But if it's like, you know, a little more touchy, you don't know the people really well, you don't want to get up on a soapbox, as it were. I think maybe just saying like, you know, between that casually suggesting somewhere else without like sort of shining a light on it, and just being like, I have reasons to not want to support this business, and just leave it at that. Yeah. And if somebody wants to know more, they can ask you. I think it's more effective to invite people to ask questions than to get on the soapbox, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
you know?
true. Yeah.
I think for me, I've learned in my older age, you know, having to regulate those emotions. You know, I am very passionate about the things that I believe in. And, you know, when I was younger, I was one of those people that I felt like I needed to get my point across and I needed to share with them all of the important things that I knew about because, you know, I'm doing this or I believe this because this, and you need to listen. And, you know, you learn that can be a huge turnoff for a lot of people. And, you know, I do think that I love the way Wayne is always so good at coming up with words. Wayne is always my words guy. I sometimes get in my own head and I have this like fear of sounding dumb or stupid, or I just let my emotions take over and I can't always find the right response or the right way to express what I'm trying to say in the moment. So maybe even just like having that in my back pocket, like, nope, and just keeping it at that. Because you also have to be aware that certain situations and certain places and being around certain people, as you said, it's not necessarily appropriate and it could do more harm than good.
Right.
Like we recently discovered some very surprising things about people in the beer industry that we legit thought were our friends. And, and we, struggled a lot of how to respond. And I personally had a lot of people reaching out to me. And I know that we had drafted a statement at one point, and then overnight some things had changed, and we just decided not to edit it and post it. And we just, and we're very thankful that the person involved with that, who happens to be the closest to us, is now separated from that situation and is healing in his own way. And, but you realize sometimes that this is beyond just drinking a beer. These are human beings and relationships. And, we need to think about how we respond to things, either in the moment or whatever, because we're all human beings.
An important thing to acknowledge is that like it happens. And on one hand, yes, it's just beer, quote unquote. But at the same time, like, these are, like you said, these are real human beings that have been negatively affected by your actions. So like, do something about that, like acknowledge that you're wrong, say whatever you need to say, like do whatever restorative things that you need to do to repair that relationship. It's a hard thing to do. Really for the craft beer industry the past year-ish has just been like a major culture shift as to things that used to just be accepted, aren't anymore. And people are starting to say like, yeah, that might have been how it used to be, but like that's not how it should be. So let's do something about that. And it's you don't know what you don't know back then. Like it's, if it was just part of the culture and it was just accepted and it was just the thing that was happening, like it's really hard to take a step back in that scenario and look at it from a different angle, but as soon as you are able to see that different angle, and then you do something, hopefully. But which you all have been doing, you've obviously been doing what you can with your platform, which is huge. That's awesome.
I think also something I wanted to bring up earlier is that prior to this cultural shift that has happened, I think there was a lot of assumptions made about what people believe in and hold dear in all kinds of things. Like doing this podcast, like in 2020 had been 7 years at that point. I would have thought anybody who listens to this podcast has to know that we're fairly liberal, right? Type of people, and like that the things that we believe in and support were pretty obvious. But if you don't actually say it, it's not obvious to everyone. And I think it is important to not only research where you're spending your money and where you're putting your energies in, in everything you do, but I think it's also important for companies and organizations that interact with the public, particularly breweries, where you're opening up a public community space to people. It's important for you to be open about what you believe in and what you value as an organization. And it's just, I keep thinking, there was this recently a bunch of stuff posted, and this happens like every so often, where like people are like, how can like extreme right-wing people watch Star Trek and be Star Trek fans? Like they exist. These people exist. Yeah. How can you, a franchise that for 60 years has been espousing socialist, egalitarian, sort of viewpoints, like not thinly veiled at all. And yet there are still people, like if you don't come out and say it in explicit words to people's faces, some of them just won't see it and won't be like, like, oh, I didn't know you were, that, or like the Rage Against the Machine. There's a thing a while ago about like hardcore conservatives that are like, what are you talking? You are the machine we're raging against. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Like, stay out of politics. Stick with your music. Okay, well, I graduated with a doctorate in political science. Cool. Yeah.
Please tell me you heard about the radio station in Vancouver.
Don't think so.
Maybe.
What song did they play over and over and over again? They all got, was it Killing in the Name?
Killing in the Name.
They just played Killing in the Name on loop constantly.
Good. Good.
For the entire day.
That's
and
amazing.
it is not a rock or alternative station. I think it was like a pop station. I don't even know. It was not a song that would be on their normal rotation. And there was a
Amazing.
clip, I don't know, I probably saw it on an Instagram reel or something, of this woman calling in and she's like, can't you just play something else? Anything else?
Nope.
And then they just played it again.
And then they said, no, fuck you. I won't do what you tell me.
Exactly.
That was very good.
Very proud of
Oh my
himself.
That was good.
I wish everyone could see your smirk.
That was good.
Now that we're
Fantastic.
laughing, should we pause from seriousness and maybe play a game?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, we could do that.
So apparently it says that it was a pop radio station in Vancouver. They laid off all of their staff.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've
It
heard of
says-
other stations doing that.
Wow.
They've been playing Killing in the Name on repeat since 6 a.m. It's now 9:30, I'm assuming p.m.
Wow.
Well, when Y100 announced same day that they were changing format, like Preston and Steve did some shit like that, like the midday guy. Like if there's something big that happens, they're gonna do it. 104.5, when it was like Alice 104.5, they played the same like Karen Carpenter song for like 3 days straight.
It's funny.
Beginning on Tuesday into at least Wednesday.
Oh,
Wow.
So it was more than 24 hours.
That also breaks Canadian broadcasting laws, by the way. There are laws that they have to play X amount of Canadian artists per hour. I think it's per hour.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like
Really?
it is
That's
a
so
government
crazy.
mandate that they have to play some Canadian acts. That way they're not just overrun by, the American music
The
scene.
Americans, yeah.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I found out about that a couple
know.
years ago when I was in Canada because I was looking. They played some band that I'd never heard of and I really liked. And there was such little information about them online anywhere. And then I found the law. I was like, oh, they have to do this. They have to showcase local, which is kind of cool. I mean,
I'm into that, yeah.
yeah, like how many local artists are there around here that would kill on the radio waves?
Totally.
I
Interesting.
feel like Philly is a good market, though. Philly
Philly's
supports Philly acts.
Yeah, Philly
Yeah.
music is
Yeah.
insane.
They do okay.
Are we ready?
Sure.
No.
Okay. Cheers to the internet and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the podcast trivia segment that couldn't find much good to joke about this time around. But the podcast trivia segment that won't do what you tell it. That's the best I can come up with. Varying points during
Amazing.
our very interesting but very serious conversation. Because I usually jot down a joke to use to lead into the game. I was like, I don't have any.
Yeah.
It's been a very serious conversation. But that's okay. Conversation that needs to be had. Anyway, we are joined by Melissa Walter from Love City Brewing, and we are playing everyone's favorite game, Libation or Fabrication. And I said it auto-tuned like that because this is a musical edition. So these are all names of beers that are related to music, and you have to tell me whether it's a real beer or if it is just fake. And we will begin, as we almost always do, to my virtual left and down with Dan, our first beer of the game. Tell me, is this real or is it fake? This is called New Kids on the Block.
Oh, please, for the love of God, be real. I'm saying real. There's no
Has to
way.
be.
There's no way everyone collectively missed that.
Dan is saying that is real. Steph, what do you think?
It has to be real.
Also saying real. And finally, Melissa.
Oh, yeah. I really, really want it to be real.
Everybody's saying real. Everybody is correct. I mean, that one was kind of a gimme. There was no way nobody came up with that before. But there are no less than 33 beers with this name listed on Untapped, ranging
Wow.
from My Box to Doppelbox to Weizenbox, proving that all the good names have indeed long ago been claimed. But for the sake of being thorough, there is also a pale ale from Greenpoint Brewing called just New Kids on the Block, no pun at all, low effort there, all copyright infringing, destitute of punnery, as well as a saison called New Kids and the Block, which is from Block Free Brewing, so I guess that makes sense. A very well-worn pun, that one. Moving on to our next beer of the game, and Steph, you are up to guess first on this one. This one's called Enter the Brew Tank.
It reminds me of the Dock Street beer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, anyway, and that location is no longer Dock Street.
Oh, right.
Oh, sad.
Right.
I don't know. I'll say fake.
Steph saying that one is fake after much deliberation. Melissa?
I like somebody's done that. I'm going to say real.
All right, saying real. We got a fake, we got a real. Dan, who are you going to agree with?
I'm going to say fake.
Going to say fake, agreeing with Steph, not a good idea, because this one is real.
Oh.
Again, it's a tangerine IPA at a sessionable 4.3% ABV from the Tap Brewing Company, which has proudly produced award-winning ales and lagers in historic downtown Haverhill, Massachusetts since 2003. Pretty sure I copied that from their website. Enter the Brewtang is nice, but cannot compete with Philly's own Wu-Tang-inspired Dock Street beer Ain't Nothing to Funk With, as we mentioned, which was a red wine barrel-aged golden saison conditioned with non-stop Wu-Tang serenading the barrel. Excuse me. You can learn more about this by digging deep into the Beer Busters archives to episode 74.
God,
so long ago. At Dock Street, back in 2015. We sat down with Vince and Mark and sampled that very beer.
We did, and Wes made whoopie pies.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yes, I forgot about the whoopie pies. That's right. That's a good episode. Go back and find it. 74.
Melissa, we recorded at Dock Street in West Philly on a Friday night, squeezed into a booth in the restaurant area.
Tiny booth.
Okay, so when I say it's going to be noisy and crowded, you're like, no, it's fine. We got this.
Yeah. Noisy and crowded.
It was like recording in the backseat of a Volkswagen.
It really was. That was
we
a fun
actually
episode.
had to take most of our bags out to the car because we had nowhere to put anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe it.
Shoving stuff under the table.
On a Friday night, you're going to be pleased.
It was a good time, though.
Good times. One more point on that last beer. As is often the case, several other brewers have used variations of the Brewtang pun, but that's the one I found first, so that's the one I put in the game. Moving on to our penultimate.
Oh, there's the word
beer of the game. And Melissa, you are up to guess first. This beer is called, appropriately, Rally Round the Family with a Pint Glass Full of Helles.
Are you kidding me right now?
Wow.
Are you kidding me? Did you just make that up now?
I was like, wait a minute.
Fake.
Yeah, hold on. Because either that's a real name and it's ridiculous and way too long, or you just made that up as a fake name, which is kind of impressive.
I don't know how to react. I don't want to give anything away.
I'm hoping it's not real. I'm going to say fake.
Okay, saying it is fake. Dan?
I will also say fake. Please, God, please be fake.
Dan saying fake. Melissa saying fake. Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say fake, and I legit think you came up with it in the last 3 minutes.
Okay, well, here's the thing. It is fake,
Oh, thank God.
but it was in this Google Doc for like 3 weeks. So I did not just come up with it now.
Crazy.
We just happened to touch on Rage Against the Machine twice. I mean, honestly, I knew this was going to be in the game, and I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but it might have been subconscious, and maybe that's why I thought about Rage Against the Machine earlier. I don't know. It's not real. It is long and ridiculous, but I think it would be awesome, so someone should make a Helles called Rally Around the Family with a pint glass full of Helles. But we've come to our last beer of the game, so we're going to add up the scores real quick, see where everyone stands, and would you believe it, Melissa, our guest has a perfect score heading into the final beer of the game. 3 out of 3 correct, but Dan and Steph, no slouches either, each with 2 out of 3 correct. So I'm just going to start with Dan again, go to Steph, and make Melissa guess. No, that's not how we do it. Melissa guesses first because she's winning.
All right.
I had this figured out for like a year, and now I forgot it again. But yeah, Melissa's going to go first, and then we'll do Dan, and then we'll do Steph. Our final beer of the game. Is it real or is it fake? It's called Check Your Head. CZECH.
Yeah, okay. There's a million Czech beers out there. I'm gonna say real.
Saying that is real. Dan?
I'm also going to say real.
Dan saying real. And finally, Steph.
Well, the strategy would be to say the opposite of what Melissa said. However, that is a real beer.
That is a real beer. Yes, it is real, and Steph already knew it. It is a classic Bohemian Pilsner from Proper Brewing Company in Salt Lake City. It is made with Czech and German ingredients and a traditional cold lagering process. They say check your head like a good mixtape will put you in the right mood. This beer is a tribute to those who come correct, and even in the next millennium, it's still old school. There you go. That's what they have to say about that. Check your head. So I think we know where we stand. Not much has changed since everyone got the last question correct. A runaway victory. Melissa, a perfect score, 4 out of 4. And coming in just behind Dan and Steph with 3 points apiece. Thank you for participating in today's edition of Happy Fun Time Games. No prize for winning, no punishment for losing. But we would like to shout out to our most generous patrons on Patreon, those who donate at the highest of levels. We would like to thank the following individuals: Jen McDonald.
I would whoop Yoda's ass.
PA Brew Review.
Sprinter Dan.
Eric Dixon.
Oh, yeah.
Dana.
Go back in time.
James Lamberg.
You are welcome.
Chris Mahoney.
I want to drink beer.
Sean Sullivan. I like that one.
I want it in my
I
mouth.
didn't want to hit that one. I'm sorry, Steph.
Brian Mills.
Franks and beans.
Jill Chivers.
Penis works as well as cheese.
What?
It depends on the circumstance, I guess. Still the one and only, still no baloney, Joe Mansell.
Amazing.
Topher Simmons.
And it's super legal.
And finally, Ben Mengel. If you want to find out how you can get on this list and get other cool behind-the-scenes perks, go to patreon.com/beerbusters to learn all about it. But let's pay our tab with some commercials.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
You ever search for something online and immediately after you hit enter, you think, oh God, I hope nobody sees what I just searched? That's why you need a VPN. Or maybe look at it this way. You know how uncomfortable it is when you use a public bathroom but the door doesn't lock all the way? And you think, oh God, at any second, anyone can burst in here and see my private business. Well, ExpressVPN is going to be the lock on the door that never fails you. They are consistently ranked as the #1 VPN in the world. They're the fastest and the most secure and the easiest to use for VPNs. VPNs are just going to protect everything that you do online. Nobody's going to see your credit card information. Nobody's going to see your searches on WebMD for that weird rash that showed up on your foot. All of it is going to be secure. Added benefits are you can stream content from anywhere in the world. You want to watch something from the German Netflix library? Go ahead. You want to watch some British football, soccer, whatever you want to call it? You can do that too. You know those geo-restricted videos on YouTube? Oh, this is not available in your region. Not anymore. You get the last laugh. It's easy to use. It runs in the background on your computer, your phone, your tablet. It only takes one click to run. And remember, they are the #1 VPN in the world. It's secure. It's anonymous. Nobody is going to see what you are doing. And all of your information is safe. If you want to see what all of the hubbub is about for a VPN, there's no better way to go than ExpressVPN. And this is why you need to go to tryexpressvpn.com/beerbusters. And when you sign up for a 1-year package through that website, you're going to get 3 months free. That's right. 1 year turns into 15 months. Again, that is tryexpressvpn.com/beerbusters. Protect your searches, transactions, and protect yourself. Try expressvpn.com/beerbusters.
Well, I have to give a thanks to our patron, James Lamberg, because the beers that I've been drinking this evening were so graciously gifted to me from him. I had a Pilsner, of course, which was quite delightful. Goldfinger Pils, which I had never had before. I'm assuming these are all... This one is from Illinois.
Illinois.
Goldfinger Brewing Company in Illinois.
Canada.
Downers Grove.
The strange town that you have talked about.
Yes, is that in Pennsylvania?
Really delightful Pilsner. And then he gave us a few from Kova Brewing Company. And this was Aloha State of Mind. It was a passion fruit and hibiscus goza, which I enjoyed way more than I thought I was going to. Usually fruited gozas are not my jam, but that was quite delightful. It almost had a like a summery cocktail kind of feel to it. Very light and easy.
That does sound lovely.
And now we're drinking one of these Imperial 3 scoops from The Answer. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get through all of it. This one is pineapple, mango, and guava. I am really enjoying the pineapple, but it is thick.
And it's hot. Like, I'm sitting over here sweating. We don't have central air. I'm just like, I'm sticking with my lime lager. I can't right now.
Well, it's really cool when you have friends that will just give you a mixed 4-pack of beers from their travels. And I really love
sweet.
people like that. So, I mean, I think the other one is a stout or a porter of some sort. It's still in the cooler. I may have to save that for later because it is getting a little warm in here. But yeah, delightful. The Pilsner, of course, was my favorite. But that Goza from Kova Brewing, I don't think I've ever had anything by them. But this really surprised me in a delightful way. Dan, you said you're drinking Love City Lager, right?
I am.
And Melissa's drinking the Lime Love City Lager.
I am.
I'm going to be boring and tell you that I am drinking a citrus and green tea AHA with caffeine.
Oh, we talk about seltzers a lot, non-alcoholic seltzers on this show a lot, and we love AHA, and I love the Wegmans brand personally. But we stopped at Treehouse on the way home from Portland, and I bought a mixed 12-pack of non-alcoholic seltzers
that they make.
They make them there, and they make them with fresh fruit. So most of them are between like 5 calories per. They're 12-ounce cans, but every one of them so far has been amazing. And the reason I wanted to buy them is because the one that was on tap that day, they used that butterfly, the pea flower stuff that makes things purple. So, of course, I was like, what are those people drinking that is purple? I need that. So I've been saving that can. That's going to be the last one I open because I'm super excited for that. But like non-alcoholic seltzers or even alcoholic seltzers are usually hit or miss for me that breweries have been making. But I've been really impressed with that. And I think it's super cool. Like you saw, a lot of families like to go to that brewery because they have a huge outdoor space. They have like trails you can do there. They have like picnic tables up in the woods. Like it's such an awesome space for people with kids and people with dogs. But to see the kids walking around with like their little purple drink, feeling all cool. Like, but
everybody deserves a cool drink,
right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs something fancy and purple.
That's cool. That's why, like Cape May. Cape May did the craft sodas. They had like
I was telling somebody about that the other day. How the ginger ale was very misleading because I didn't realize it was fresh ginger.
That's the best ginger ale.
Oh yeah, I didn't expect my sinuses to be cleared. I figured it was going to be like a better version of Canada Dry.
I don't remember the brand, but I saw like a nice craft ginger ale at the store the other day. And there was literally like sediment of ginger on the bottom that had settled. Like you'd have to shake it.
I would drink that.
Yeah, I would drink that.
I love that flavor, but like ginger beer ends up having so much sugar in it that by the end of it, I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But like actually talking about Wegmans, the Wegmans brand ginger seltzer, all day long.
That's my favorite.
I've had that one.
So good.
I have like 4 cases of it in the pantry at all times. Every time I'm near Wegmans, I pick up another one. That one's my favorite. But ever since Dana had, am I allowed to say this? Yeah. No. Ever since Dana had COVID, like her sense of smell and taste has been slightly off, and most things have gone back to normal. But one thing that smells so bad to her is the ginger seltzer.
Oh no, that's so
it's good for me though.
Yeah,
now you can have more yourself. Yeah.
So she's drinking. This is the Target brand, right? It's their pear and hibiscus.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that one has caffeine in it. But
how do y'all drink caffeine at 8:20 at night? I would be up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh my god.
I could drink an espresso and fall asleep the next minute.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I actually just been extremely tired today, so I'm not worried about it. But these AHAs with caffeine aren't like super caffeinated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like I probably won't drink another one after this, but it'll probably be fine.
I also love breweries that are starting to make coffee, which I saw was. Am I losing my mind? That was one of the things on the list of New Jersey laws that breweries.
Oh yeah, they can't serve coffee. I'm like, of all the why? It makes zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that's definitely like the restaurant lobby. It sounds exactly like that's where that comes from.
I love being able to. It's a nice way to like break up the day. If you're going to spend a lot of time at one brewery, being able to have like a cold brew coffee or like a nitro coffee in between beers. I mean, the three of us, we love coffee almost as much as we like beer. So
same. I am a total coffee nerd as well. And like Kevin was doing pour over coffee every morning for a while and then realized that like he was spending 30 minutes making coffee. And I was like, "Hon, you can just buy a regular coffee maker and do that on the weekends. It's fine."
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, that would be kind of cool to get into like coffee roasting someday. You know, long-term project.
Yeah,
when I've got some free time.
But yeah, I think there is a lot of overlap between beer drinkers and coffee drinkers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Steph, if you get to Austin, there's a brewery, Lazarus Brewing. They do beer and coffee and tacos.
Oh,
it's the trifecta. I was in heaven.
Well, we have Stolen Sun, and
True.
they brew and he roasts as well, which is really freaking cool. Which we need to get back there too. Jonathan is a really cool guy.
Yes,
that was the last place we recorded before.
Yeah, March 13th, 2020. We recorded there.
Yep.
It was Friday the 13th.
Wait, where is Stolen Sun?
In Exton, Pennsylvania.
Okay, I haven't been there.
Yeah,
Putting on the list if they've got good coffee.
Yeah, very
they
good.
have really, and he does bourbon barrel aged coffee beans sometimes. So usually I'll snag a bag of those and ship them out to my brother for Christmas.
Yeah.
But he used to brew at the brewery that was at Canal Street in Reading.
Oh, that's right.
Here,
I forgot about that.
near where I live and where the three of us grew up. So we had that local connection to him, and then to get to know him from the podcast side as well. And his son is an amazing musical artist as well. Was a finalist on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Was that the show?
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah. So his son is often
Very
performing at the brewery as well, and they just expanded their. I mean, you guys haven't been there since they expanded into the other space. That it is huge now. It's amazing. Yeah. What's her? Chris is their brewer. Is that her name?
Yes.
And I know that he's.
Sounds right.
I'm still nagging him to let her brew a lager, because last time I was there, it was just the Kolsch, no lager. She wants to brew a lager so bad, and he's like, IPAs,
coffee and IPAs. That's what he's all about. But he's like a professional coffee taster. He goes to the sources, the single origin, and tastes coffee and does the rating and all of that. It's really involved.
Awesome.
But he's the real deal, that guy.
Oh, and then there's Shy Bear.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they actually own the brewery and then the coffee company, the Rich Coast Coffee Company.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they did coffee as well. That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of shipping beers during COVID, that was one of the places I had Shy Bear beer brewed here. I mean, I love their beer, don't get me wrong, but the main reason I ordered beer is also get their gigantic bags of coffee.
Yeah,
because their coffee is amazing.
Yeah, it was a big old 2-pound bag. He sent us one for the holidays, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so nice.
That was very nice. Yeah.
So if I was getting out of the house and I needed beer and coffee, I would do a curbside pickup at Stolen Sun.
One-stop shopping. There you go.
And have it shipped from Love City. I think one time we ordered 2 5-pound bags.
Good God.
We went through it a lot faster than you think we would, actually.
Oh my God.
I'm really not surprised, honestly.
One thing I started doing during COVID, we now make coffee ice cubes. If there's leftover coffee, which people have probably been doing this forever.
Yeah.
It was just the aha moment for me.
Genius. Yeah. Why did I not think of this until
Same.
just this moment?
Yeah.
That is genius.
Yeah.
Leftover coffee, put it in the freezer.
The real genius is the leftover part, because I've heard of coffee ice cubes, but I'm always dumping out a little bit of coffee every day because I always make too much. And that makes perfect sense. And I always put an ice cube in my coffee because I want to drink it right away. And I don't put milk or cream or anything in it.
I definitely picked that habit up from you.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
We're just solving the words problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, you solved multiple coffee problems for me.
Ice cube at a time.
Yeah, you bullied me into drinking black coffee. I picked up the trick of putting a little bit of ice in the coffee.
I don't like that you always use this word bullied. I just
bullied
very
me.
strongly
No, you showed me the
you.
light.
No, you bullied me into it. Thank you.
It's so much better.
It really
If
is.
it's good coffee. If it's not good coffee, it's not better. But if it's good coffee, it's better.
Well, and it's funny you say that. We buy, and I mean, it's still not bad coffee. We usually whatever is a big bag and usually on sale at Costco, we'll buy that. And that will be if we're making iced coffee and we want flavoring in it or something, we'll brew that. But morning coffee, drinking it hot, fresh and black, it's the local, we love Lancaster County roasters. Their coffee is my favorite. So that's usually what we're drinking. And we picked up this is going to be stupid because I don't remember the name of the place, but we picked up a bag of something in Portland that's really good. Don't remember it. So that was a pointless.
To our listeners, there's good coffee in Portland.
Here's the good coffee.
That's one thing that's cool, that even if you're not necessarily a brewery that is involved with the process of coffee, a brewery is just one of those businesses that naturally supports other local businesses.
Yeah.
Whether it's through having like art markets in the parking lot or having bags of local snacks or bags of coffee that you can buy to go. It's like,
we actually are like, we have our food truck situation, of course, as many days of the week as we can book them, but we also have just like our small little snacks over the bar. So we just have some whatever mixed nuts that we get, but we got Herring Salts chips and OMG pretzels. In part because they're tasty, but in part because they're local women-owned companies.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, absolutely, if we have to have snacks and these are delicious, then why not also support like a local company? So totally agree.
I saw that algorithm usually comes by you guys now and then. Oh my gosh,
so good.
They are.
Oh
I've
my
had them
gosh.
like 3 times now. They used to do, there was a flea market or farmer's market near where Jess used to live in West Philly. They were always there on like a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Wissahickon Brewing, which is like right down the street from me.
They're there frequently.
They were there and I got something there and we saw them somewhere. They just keep turning up and we're like, oh, it's algorithm. And it's so good.
They're everywhere. They're so in demand because they got like written up as something about the best vegan food in Philly, and with very good reason because their stuff is amazing. So we book them when we can, they're very in demand, but they come by pretty frequently.
That's cool. I wonder if they'll ever open like a brick and mortar location, like expand beyond the truck.
I mean, I always hope that for food trucks, and at the same time, I don't, because then they won't come to our brewery anymore.
But it's also like for the owner, it's just a whole new set of things to worry about. Like when you have your food truck business down pat, and then you got to transition.
Right.
Can't be easy.
Especially right now, everything's so damn expensive. Like I can't imagine buying kitchen equipment right now.
Oh yeah.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, just finding a space to rent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, the
that
folks
too.
that owned the Tomcat, which for anyone local knows is like the breakfast place to go to in used to be, which happens to be a mile from my house, but they moved south and they just opened a food truck. So they went from a brick and mortar location
to
a food truck. And one thing that's really cool that they've been doing is every time they set up somewhere, the menu is completely different. Like the other night they were doing empanadas or something. It was something Mexican themed. And then I saw the other day they were doing all breakfast food because I saw the Fruity Pebbles French toast. And I'm like, I missed their Fruity Pebbles French toast. But it seems like they're just having a good time coming up with creative stuff and serving.
Yeah, you can just go crazy and try different things. That's really neat.
Definitely the best breakfast I think I've ever had.
Yeah,
at the Tomcat, and that's counting a full English in London.
Oh,
which is a close.
That says a lot for you.
Well, and I was just excited because, like, maybe my concept of time is gone. I'm not even gonna say it, but close to when they moved, they had created an entire vegan menu. Which when they first opened, they were like, "This is what we have.
Yeah,
no substitutions, no changing it. You order it as is." And but it was really cool to see them evolve and some of the things that they came up with and created. And, now I'm hungry.
I will never forget the 40 ounces to freedom. That was my go-to. That beer cheese was so good.
It was one way I could get these guys to stay over because they knew, like, before they would drive back to Philly, they could go to the Tomcat.
Yeah, we go Tomcat. Yeah,
now
true.
Since Tomcat's gone, they haven't stayed in Reading, at least not with me.
Yeah, there's always Dunkin' Donuts. Actually, like, what is the go-to breakfast spot in Reading now?
So we have the Greenhouse Cafe in West Reading, which is completely vegan. And he makes some really, really amazing food. That's my favorite place to go for breakfast. Oh my gosh, their lattes. He was telling us about where they get the espresso beans and this guy that like gets them. And it is literally the best latte, iced or hot. It doesn't matter. It's the best latte I've ever had in my life. Wow. And to know that it's like a few miles from my house. Now their hours are sort of condensed right now, as everybody is struggling. But yeah.
Oh, as long as we're talking about awesome restaurants in your area, Seth, the place for your birthday, the Indian place.
Oh my God!
What is it?
Rangoli.
They were so good.
That was
and
so
so nice.
good.
They were so nice.
They're good people. Yeah.
This it's a restaurant that it's like Indian food. But you probably know better than I do because I heard him give that spiel just that night. Like they do a lot of meals for houseless individuals and like do a like pay what you can night for families who are struggling to. Yeah, it's they really made a point to serve the community.
Yeah, they don't. Whatever tip money comes in gets donated. So right now they're raising money to build a way to get fresh water to some towns in South India, which amount of money, it's insane. Like how to us how small the cost is to be able to make this happen. Yeah. But it's just such an insurmountable cost
the difference
to the people living over there.
Yeah.
So they're raising money for that right now. There were also some local people here that were struggling to pay for some cancer treatments, so they were helping to raise their money for them. But they're just all about giving back to the community in any way they can and helping people that are less fortunate. And the food is freaking phenomenal. It's not like, oh, we go there because they're doing good things with, no, it's literally the most amazing food ever. He's Krishna, the owner, is from southern India, and the menu is very South Indian inspired and street food. Yeah. But I wish I could. I mean, I make a good curry, but
it's impossible. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, if you did not grow up making curry, I feel like it's just something that you absorb as like a skill that, you grow up with, because like Kevin's a really good cook. He cooks a lot of things that are amazing, but somehow the combination of spices into a curry, it's just like there's something missing, and I don't know what it is, and nobody can tell us.
Right?
What's missing is the Philosopher's Stone, because it's freaking alchemy the way they
apparently, yeah.
When we don't get takeout very often, unless like the three of us are craving a pizza or something, then we'll go to the local pizza shop. But if we are going to thoughtfully have takeout for dinner, 100% it's there.
Yeah.
So good.
Awesome.
Damn it, now I'm hungry.
Yeah, I
just had Indian like 2 days ago. Now I'm like, oh, a little more.
Man.
Well, what is coming up at Love City? Do you guys have any events coming up? Any beer releases? Anything that you want to push or promote?
Coming up at Love City? I gotta refocus my brain. We've got a couple of parking lot events coming up in the next couple of weeks, actually, which I'm excited about. So this weekend we have it's called Get a Grip Fest. It is a combination of live music, vendors, and a skate jam. So it's like a skateboarding trick competition.
Oh, cool.
So it's going to be a ton of fun. There's like a ton of local vendors. The local skate shop called Zembo's is joining in. And then there's just a bunch of local Philly bands that are going to be playing. So that's Saturday, July 9th from 2 to 8 p.m., I believe. So that's going to be a ton of fun. We have an Italian Pilsner coming out later in the month, which I am so excited about. End of July, look for that. It is still not ready, but it will be soon.
Worth the wait.
Yeah, totally worth the wait. I'm excited to try it. And so wait, Steph, you're like a drag race fan, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Saturday, August 6th, we are having a huge drag show in the parking lot, put on by a local queen who's raising money for homeless LGBTQ youth. But she somehow managed to get Roxy Andrews from RuPaul's Drag Race.
I saw that! So we are actually flying home. We land like at 1:00 that morning, and we've literally had a conversation of, can we make this work? Because we're flying into Baltimore. We're like, can we drive home from Baltimore, manage to get some sleep, and then drive to Philly? We actually, a number of the queens that are performing there, we just saw them perform at Pridezilla in Phoenixville, and they were promoting that event, and such a good time, such a talented group of queens. Yeah, and when I saw Roxy Andrews is going to be there, that's going to be a blast.
I know. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. Well, even if I don't see you there, I know you'll be exhausted, but
yeah, if I'm not there, I will be laying in bed, like scrolling Instagram, watching for people post reels.
Just hitting the stories, being like, ooh.
Yes. And that group of queens, if it was the same way at Pridezilla, what I love is they bring dollar bills and you can exchange. Like, you bring a 20 and they'll give you 21, so you don't have to prepare ahead of time and make sure you have one.
Taking Venmo.
Yeah, and you could Venmo them. You could like Venmo them $40 and they would give you 41s. It was so genius. So genius.
Yeah, we've had drag shows before, and we always are like, shit, we gotta go to the bank, we gotta get more ones. Like, everybody need ones. Damn it. But yeah, that's just a couple of the things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks here.
Oh, cool. That is awesome. I'm excited. Well, obviously excited for that, but the Italian Pilsner, that's,
Yes.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. If I could drink Pilsners and lime lager all summer long, that's probably exactly what I would do.
Not bad.
And I'm looking for it on here. The Equity and Inclusion Committee. You guys have your own Instagram too, at Beer for Change PA.
Yep,
so
that's us.
A good page to follow for more
well, I should promote that too. Is the monthly, for members of the Brewers of Pennsylvania, so you do have to be a member of the state guilds. We're doing a free monthly training focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we're working with a great woman of color. Her name is Tanaj. She has a company that does this type of work, and she's fantastic. And it's valuable to anybody in the beer industry. So as long as you're a member of the BOP, whether you're a brewery or an affiliate member, I definitely recommend it. It's free. Just email me, Melissa at lovecitybrewing.com for more information. DM me on social media, whatever. I'll get you the info.
Awesome.
And the Pink Boots chapter in Philly is phenomenal. And you guys are always doing such amazing events. And people that are not actual members of Pink Boots can pay to attend some of these events as well, correct?
Yeah, I love that they're doing that now, because it's like a little boost to Pink Boots, but it's also like, okay, well, if you don't want to be a full-fledged member, that's fine. If you just want to come out and learn about something and support, then do it. That's great.
So follow them as well.
Yes.
Yes, please do.
Very cool. Very, 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 very cool. So if people want to learn more about, Love City, it's lovecitybrewing.com. Is that the same on all the socials then too?
Yeah, all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all the big stuff.
So you guys do have a TikTok.
We do.
I forget we have one.
I worked it into the intro, and I don't know. Do we?
Every time he says TikTok, I'm like, oh yeah.
Are we still active on there? What do you post on TikTok? What is Love City TikTok?
Somebody explained TikTok to me this way, and I was like, okay, now I kind of get it. TikTok is a visual entertainment platform. They don't give a shit about your updates. They don't give a shit about the news. It's not, you can't think of it like a news feed. Nobody cares about your news feed on TikTok. It is visual entertainment. That is it.
So you want to laugh, you want to go, aw, or you want to go, damn, that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So true. Yeah. So finally, when somebody explained that to me, I'm just like, oh, okay. So I need to stop posting about all the new beers that are releasing tomorrow or whatever, because somebody's going to see this 3 weeks from now and not give a shit that it was released tomorrow. But if you just do a cool beer video with the beer pouring and cut it all cool and interesting, it's that's what people want to see. Got it.
Okay.
I feel so old.
Maybe I should install the app and log in to our account and actually look at it.
Yeah. But I'll scroll through and I'll maybe there'll be some inspiration.
Yeah, maybe we had a Snapchat at one time too.
Oh yeah, I started that before 100th episode. That lasted for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Wait, what was that? I missed it.
Are those coloring books?
Oh.
There should be drag. I bet there are drag queen.
I'm sure there are.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'd be surprised.
It's an entire Entertainment Weekly dedicated to RuPaul's Drag Race. It's
that's awesome.
Edition, and Rich managed to find it when he was out today.
All right, cool. Good job, Rich.
Yeah, good job.
It was
Rich.
$15.
Oh,
yikes!
Wow. How magazines cost these days?
Print media is expensive. Well, because it's a special edition.
Yeah.
That too.
Wait, did he say he went to Taco Bell?
He said he wants Taco Bell now. That's literally what he said.
Always. Taco Bell is an anytime food.
He had Taco Bell for the first time in 5 years the other night, and now it's all he wants.
The longest I think I've ever gone in my life was 10 months, and it was the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh,
was surprising.
That's a hardship.
Yeah. Now Grubhub can just deliver it to me. So some lazy Sunday mornings, I'll order Taco Bell breakfast, and I'll get a little bit of OJ, and then I've got some grenadine and some tequila. Make it fancy.
Oh my God.
You think I'm kidding? That's the thing. It actually has happened multiple times.
At dark times, I have ordered McDonald's. Wawa, I'm less ashamed of on Grubhub. But if I ever order Taco Bell on Grubhub, I feel like, I don't know.
But why is McDonald's better than Taco Bell?
Yeah, anyway, why is McDonald's better than Taco Bell, huh?
It's not. It's really
At
not.
least Taco Bell has vegetarian options. At McDonald's, you can't even eat the French fries.
Yeah,
the French
McDonald's.
Fries aren't even
that's
vegetarian.
right. Oh, because
they spray meat juice on everything.
Yeah, beef tallow or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been like this is a long time ago. All right. I was just craving some McDonald's like late at night.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I won't apologize for Wawa though, because sometimes you just need a Wawa hoagie.
Do you?
I do
Yeah.
enjoy a Wawa hoagie.
I love
You know,
Wawa
I
hoagies.
prefer Sheets, but Wawa does make it better.
Well, it is Hoagie Fest after all.
Blasphemy.
My God. Where have we gone? What have we done?
Anyway, I felt like we were wrapping up for a minute there.
Yeah,
and then we got on a
yeah, and
tangent.
then I mentioned my
And we
Taco
went
Bell
left.
breakfast. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're all hungry now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. God. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is a lot
Of course,
of fun.
anytime. And hopefully the next time won't be 3 years and a pandemic later.
I hope not. Yeah, we'll get together in person.
Yes.
It'll be great.
Yes.
There will not be issues to deal with. It'll be fun.
And I will probably be at the brewery within the next 4 days.
Fantastic.
I gotta
come say
restock.
hi.
How late are you guys?
I gotta
How
restock.
late are you
I'm out.
open? 40 minutes?
Hey, it's because he might be there in 20 minutes.
We'll be open till 10. You're welcome to stop by. I'm obviously at my house, so
Yeah.
I'm
Right. No, this is definitely I'm at home. I'm not leaving home. It's
Yeah,
a weeknight.
same.
I can only have one beer.
Yeah.
That's a self-imposed restriction. Don't worry.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm on that train too. I'm
Yeah.
just too old for this.
Yep. There's a time where you realize it, and I've realized it.
Yep.
Oh my God. Well, while you're out there looking at Love City and all the aforementioned social medias for all the other important causes and groups, remember you can follow along with us. We do have a TikTok, like we kind of said, and Instagram and Twitter. We are at Beerbusters. Facebook, we're Beerbusters Podcast. There's beerbusterspodcast.com. Don't forget /shop where you can get cool merch. YouTube, we are Beerbusters Podcast. There's patreon.com/beerbusters where you got all the cool behind the scenes, the archive of the punishment videos, and if and when basement recordings are to happen, you may get an invitation if you are local to the Beerbusters worldwide headquarters. Is that what we called it earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, there it is.
It's like the World Series.
That's right.
We're just calling it the Worldwide Headquarters. Just 'cause we want
It's not. It's the Beer Busters Worldwide Headquarters and Tiki Bar now.
And Tiki
That's
Bar.
true. It is also
Yes.
now a Tiki Bar.
Yes,
as well.
with Mark the Tiki God.
Yeah, because that was our COVID project. We built a Tiki Bar.
My
That's
COVID
amazing. I'm
project
coming.
was being lazy. That's also my non-COVID project, so it all works out. Well, I feel like, unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters. And, it's like we said earlier, there are important conversations that needed to be had, and I'm glad that we were able to have it with somebody who's from a brewery who embodies all of the change. And seriously, thank you to you and Kevin and everybody else that's there for really driving that, because it does, as a beer drinker and enthusiast, it means a lot to see somebody doing that.
Thank you. It means a lot to hear that. I appreciate that.
Well, my name is Dan Baker. I am joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
Remember to throw us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. Do that for all your podcasts. Remember, no squids were harmed in the making of this episode. We'll see you next time.
And tacos.
Oh, I was waiting for a Rage Against the Machine quote.
See, I wrote one
I
down
didn't even
earlier.
think of that. I could've come up with
I went
another
the
thought.
other way. I went with "fuck you, I won't brew what you tell me."
Oh,